Like many others, I really believe that a good story makes food taste better. During the holiday season of 2024, I've been collecting family recipes from all of you, and I'm excited to share those with everybody today. Most of these recipes are very unique, so get ready to go to Funky Town.
I want to take me to Funky Town.
The unusualness already kicks in as the first footage of a FutureCanoe video being broccoli. That's like opening the hub and see a motivational speech. Starting again in the USA category, as I mentioned before in the struggle meal video, the sequence and selection of these recipes is based on my channel analytics. It's not that I want to explore other cuisines, I just gotta give the people what they want since my self-esteem is dependent on view count. Emma here from the US of A suggested a family recipe of a pizza omelette quiche type of thing. Her grandma tried to make a quiche. She was off her rockers because she forgot her meds. Sounds like a great grandma. And she thought it was a pizza crust, and then she turned it into a pizza. I mean, turning anything into a pizza sounds like a great idea, but the recipe seems easy enough. It's just like a pretty standard quiche mixture baked into a pie crust and then topping it off with pizza toppings. She only gave the ingredients, no measurement, so I'm just gonna improvise. To some chopped up broccoli and chives, I'm gonna add in a quarter cup of cream cheese, half a cup of buttermilk. Most quiche recipes calls for heavy cream, so I think you can use that as well. We'll season it with salt and pepper, mix that up a little bit. She calls for 5 eggs, which is like half a dozen. I don't even know if this recipe tastes good, so this is a risk I'm unwilling to take, especially in this economy. I feel like our dairy products are already doing half of the job. Plus the batter just need to coagulate for the pizza topping later. Also, I feel like nobody takes quiche seriously, you know? I've never met a person that wakes up one day and go, I'm gonna make myself a quiche Lorraine. But anyways, this goes into a 350-degree oven for 35 minutes. I'm glad we didn't add those 3 extra eggs. Probably overflow this pie crust. Next step following the process of making a pizza with a layer of sauce, cheese, and pepperoni. In addition, to take it to the next level, Emma also asked us to put bits of sausage on top. I mean, I'm always up to take down a nice thick Italian to spice up the pie. Extra 15 minutes in the oven. This is the first thing I cooked today. I haven't eaten anything and it smells so good. While waiting, I was gonna go back to bed just to catch up on some sleep, but I couldn't handle the stomach growling. I guess this is really like a deep dish with eggs and vegetables in it. And let's give it a taste and rate 1 through 10. It has the complete flavor profile of a deep dish, but it doesn't feel like the second bite's gonna take you to heaven. The flavor leans towards pizza, the texture towards quiche. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10, starting strong. If this is what Emma's grandma created when she's off her meds, I can't even begin to imagine how good the food is when she's on top of her game. By the way, it's the 2-year anniversary of our FutureCanoe community. Here are 500 promo codes for 75% off on everything, plus free shipping. We gotta start 2025 on a good deal. Link in the description below. Our next recipe by Kevin from Georgia. That's where I get my peaches. Oh yeah, shit. But the family recipe is from Milwaukee. There's a great story attached to it. His great-grandfather was a World War II veteran, butcher, one of the first food safety inspectors. Kinda concerns me that we didn't have food safety inspectors before that. But his great-grandfather worked for Hormel, and in the Spam Museum in Minnesota, didn't know that existed, has a small mention of his name due to his contribution to furthering food safety via air travel. That's some insane information. His great-grandfather is part of making Spam fly across the globe, which is the representation of the American globalization and the rise of a superpower. If I were Kevin, I'll be telling this story about my great-grandfather every time I see a can of Spam. And the recipe is actually pretty easy. You just grate some stuff and toast it. We only need 3 ingredients, a little more cheese than that, 8 ounces. And everything will be grated, starting with the cheese. I'm using Gruyere here, but you can use any. I think Kevin suggested cheddar. We're doing the cheese first because it's the most messy, and the second messy would be the Spam. Oh yeah. This feels right. And finally, to clean everything off the grater, we'll shred half an onion. It's moments like this I'm glad that I don't show face because I'm bawling my eyes out right now. After we have all the shredded substance, we'll add in a little bit more of cheese. Mix it very thoroughly because this is gonna be our topping. We'll lay down a couple pieces of toast. You see how I'm doing space management here? Then we'll just sprinkle, by sprinkle I mean pile, the onion, Spam, cheese mixture on top of the toast. The oven is on max broil. Kevin's brother likes it a little bit burnt on the sides, so to keep in theme of this channel, we'll char it a little bit. It kind of reminds me of a tuna melt before you fold it together. It smells incredible. Everybody's attracted to the smell of cooked onion. We got a little cheese pull going on over here. Let's just fold it together like a pizza and take a bite. It's a little hard to describe. The texture is confusingly juicy. It's reminding me of a pulled pork sandwich, but you guys already know Spam tastes more like jello than meat. So to sum it up, it's basically the most tender pulled pork sandwich you ever taste in your life. And this is for the legacy of Spam and the legacy of Kevin's great-grandfather. Coming up, the taco ring from Alex is Dying Here. That's actually how he introduced himself. And obviously the recipe starts with some taco meat. I'm pressing down the ground beef to get some color on there. I don't have taco seasoning, but I can season the taco with salt, pepper, garlic powder, some paprika, and cumin. We'll crumble that up, add our onions, and saute until everything's cooked through and combined. Whipping out the crescent dough tube. It's strange that I keep forgetting this since I practice so much. You really need to take off the wrapper before you pop the tube, and it goes everywhere. Here's a bigger sheet tray. All these triangles of dough, we gotta align them in a circle by layering in the corners together. All these triangles make a circle. All these triangles make a circle. Why do they have to make it so hard to maneuver this? This is a pretty underwhelming product if you ask me. The circle's finally done. It's shining like a sunflower. It looks like I made it perfectly, but sat on it. We will stuff our meat into the taco. We'll even out the distribution of meat and then take a corner or like a petal of the flour and then just tug it down there. We'll do that to all the corners. Doesn't look as bad as I expected. We'll bake at 350 for 25 minutes. This looks very close to the original picture that Kevin gave us. So I'm assuming crescent is supposed to imitate a croissant, but I don't see any flakiness going on. It looks like it's cooked through. It smells a little bit like a croissant, so let's give it a taste and rate 1 through 10. Definitely better than tacos. Reminds me of a ham and cheese, and also better than a ham and cheese, so I'll say this fusion is successful. So far all the recipes are really good. I'm gonna give this an 8.5. Another recipe from Georgia. Caroline Morrison is introducing us to the breakfast casserole. It seems easy enough, just bread pieces, sausage, bacon, cheddar cheese, and 1 dozen eggs. I'm not gonna do that, probably only 1 or 2. Bake at 350 for 25 minutes. Serve with tobacco, I guess because her dad makes this dish. So just as I said before, I'm gonna repeat it. We'll have bread pieces, pepperoni, sausage, egg, heavy cream. Mix it into the solid ingredients and pour it into a baking dish. 350 for 30 minutes, and it smells just like the quiche pizza thing we made earlier. Considering the ingredients we use, this is pretty much a deconstructed Emma's grandma's off the meds pie. If we describe the last one as a frittata, this one is more of a bread pudding. The eggs got completely soaked into the bread, so it doesn't have that scrambled eggs texture, but it's really dense, so I don't really enjoy it as much. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Sarah from somewhere on the East Coast is teaching us how to make a fantastic chicken. There are only 4 ingredients and it seems pretty straightforward. We're starting with 4 boneless, skinless chicken breasts. I'm just gonna pull 1 chicken breast out of this pack. Again, before I have full trust towards the recipe, I'm not gonna waste too much ingredients, you know? I don't feel like slicing it with a knife because I have to wash the cutting board and stuff, so I'm just gonna cut it with a pair of scissors. For the sauce that goes directly on top, we're doing apricot preserves and equal part Russian dressing. I've had neither of those, so I don't know what they taste like. In addition to those, we're also doing some your sister sauce. It just looks like a marmalade type of thing. It actually tastes pretty good. Like a mixture of orange chicken sauce and Chick-fil-A sauce. You really shouldn't be doing this step because the first 20 minutes of baking is just salt and pepper and nothing on top. But it's not too late. We'll just cover it with foil and into the oven for 20. We'll check on it later. After 20 minutes, they are looking so gross. It's starting to look like a biology experiment or something. So let's drown it in the sauce we made earlier, put it back in the oven and hope for the best. 30 minutes later, just like my sister giving a second chance to her ex-boyfriend, things only got worse. But hey, taken away from her dating philosophy, my culinary philosophy is that I'll put anything to my mouth. Many of us moved out of the comfort of our family. We no longer have the constant access to our favorite meals. To still get good quality food with minimal stress, let me introduce you to Factor meals. Factor sets you up for success. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan, veggie, and more. You can also make sure you're making a sustainable choice. Factor offsets 100% of delivery emissions and sources 100% renewable electricity for their production sites and offices. As a lot of you know, besides making cooking videos, I'm currently doing a lot of studying. Some days can get quite busy. Factor can save me a lot of time, freeing me from a busy schedule and the stress of cooking. Most importantly, it brings complex meals to keep my diet balanced without overloading my fridge with extra ingredients I don't know what to do with. This This way, my fridge can always be well stocked and I know exactly what I'm eating. So if you're ready to experience hassle-free eating, then use code 50canoe to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. That's code 50canoe at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. I'm actually very excited about this next one. Andrew from North Carolina is bringing us the family all-purpose cobbler dump cake recipe. You got a dump or you got a cake. Apparently it's very versatile. 20 to 30 ounces of whatever fruit you want. I guess they usually do blueberries or peaches and then we'll mix this together and just pour it all over. Seems simple. Here we have probably a little more than 30 ounces of blueberries. I don't wash my fruits, not because I'm lazy, but because I'm a loving and trusting person. In another bowl, we'll mix in half a cup of sugar, half a cup of butter, and half a cup of self-rising flour, which I think is just AP flour with some baking powder. So it's not really self-rising per se, just like me, it needs the help of chemicals. Finally, we'll mix in half a cup of milk. We gotta take out a real tool to put this all together. Now we'll pour the batter all over. This is supposed to be a satisfying shot. I don't know why it's unfocused. And shimmy the batter a little bit. You really shouldn't touch it. I'm just evenly distributing it. And we'll just put it in 375 for an hour. That was very minimal amount of work for results that actually look freaking amazing. I'm really proud of how it looks. Let's see what you guys think.
What's poppin'? Brand new whip, just hopped in. I got options. I can pass that like Stockton.
Does this look like a blueberry pie or what? And the self-rising flour kind of expands and get crispy on top. If this goes well, I'm gonna start making this like every week. I'm not lying when I say that this tastes better than a store-bought blueberry pie. The blueberries completely broke down and stewed into syrup at the bottom, and the batter bakes into a cake and soaks it all up. And on the top, it gets a little crispy and flaky like a pie. The flavors of the fruit really shines through. It's a 1 + 1 is bigger than 2 situation. I'm gonna give this a 9.7 out of 10. Thank you so much for showing me this. You guys have to try it. I can't wait to try this with different fruits like apple and peaches. Next two recipes from Germany. The first one, Julia or Jewel. She claims that she's German, so of course her recipe is potatoes. Are Germans known for having potatoes? I feel like it's more of a Irish or a Russian thing. And then the main ingredient is cork. Cork is both a food item and the sound frogs and ducks make. Like they go cork cork. Alright. But anyways, it's basically like a potato pancake. You make a dough and then you fry it. Starting with 375 grams of boiled potato from last night. Apparently it has to be from the day before, like fried rice. Otherwise it won't lose the moisture and dry up to come to a cohesive dough. 40 grams of butter, 250 grams of Sonic cork, which is just cream cheese I guess. 100 grams of flour and 100 grams sugar. I'm using powdered sugar here because I have too much in my house. Use some lemon rind if you're feeling fancy. I never feel fancy. And raisin if I'm evil. I am evil, but I don't have raisins. So this pretty much is the dough, which we'll combine with the Ligma fork. Now in a burning hot pan, we'll drizzle room temperature water. Shape the dough into patties and just fry them on medium heat. This rarely happens. It doesn't stick to the pan, but it sticks to the spatula. We'll flip it over to cook it some more. Most of the ingredients are already cooked, so we're just heating it up at this point. Okay, that was pretty easy. If you don't tell me, I'll think they're failed fluffy pancakes. So let's give it a taste and rate it 1 through 10. I just forgot, Julia told us to dust it with cinnamon sugar. I'm just gonna do cinnamon because it's already sweet enough. It's really good. You know what it tastes like? It tastes like a juicy pancake. You know the struggle of when you go to brunch and they serve you really dried up pancakes, so you have to use a lot of spit and reminds you of last night? This is like a warm, buttery, fluffy pancake. Then cinnamon just takes it to another level. Potato just keep blowing my mind. You guys are hitting me with all these great recipes. I'm gonna give it a 9.5. This other German one from Ben has a lot of seeds in it, caraway and mustard. Lucky for me, I actually have mustard seeds on hand, but I don't have caraway, so this is fennel seeds. And before you judge me, I know most of you, like me, don't even know what caraway seeds look like. The only caraway I know is Nick Caraway from The Great Gatsby, and he's super annoying. Once my seeds are popping, I'm gonna stroke my sausage in. Seems like the sequence is in reverse. We'll saute a little bit and pour in 1 cup of heavy cream, macaroni, and some milk. So Ben told us we're not supposed to stir it at all. Just cook the pasta until you hear crackling from the bottom. That seems rather risky, so I'm gonna keep an eye on it. Here we have an almost dried up, crackling from the bottom, mac and seeds. Looks like a pasta salad. It's actually really good. It reminds me of a risotto. It's perfectly cooked but kind of dry at the same time. It has a lot of flavor and creaminess, and the seeds adds a lot of aroma to it. Still, I prefer normal pasta. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. So, this person from Punjab's grandmother was known for dal pitti. So like a lentil soup. We're taking half a cup of red lentil and half a cup of yellow lentil. Well, guess what? When you put that together is 1 full cup of green lentil. He told us to wash it 3 times. Once again, I'm a loving, trusting person. I'm just gonna put it in like this. To make it, we're gonna start by heating up some oil. I'm going with my never-ending duck fat. Toasting some cumin up. Once you smell the fragrance, you put in half a sliced onion, some chopped ginger, and tomatoes. We'll fry that a little bit, add some garam masala. I'm using Japanese curry powder, and then mix in the lentils from earlier. Once all the ingredients are heated, we'll just fill water until it goes over it. Everything's happening in this pot. We'll just cover and simmer till the lentils are cooked. 20 minutes later, we're going to improve the texture by adding and stirring in a little bit of butter, and the heat should be off at this point, by the way. I never choose to have lentil soup, but it smells really good. Besides the texture kind of tastes like my throw up from last week, it's very flavorful. I was a little concerned about the ginger, but it works really well. I wish it had bacon in it or something. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. A dessert from Hyderabad. That's where the biryani is from, right? Sheikh's family calls it a sheer kurma. It's a festive dessert. It looks very complicated. I'm actually curious to how it tastes. A lot of nuts required for this recipe. I'm a little low right now, so I'm just gonna use cashew, pecans, and walnut. I'm really not a big fan of nuts in desserts, with the exception of hazelnut. Hazelnut's probably my second favorite nut. My favorite nut is donut. Our second ingredient is rice vermicelli. We're supposed to shred it and fry it in butter. Kind of reminds me of the Dubai chocolate phyllo thing. But oh my god, this thing flies everywhere. I'm just gonna heat up the pan first. Alright, cleanup just got 10 times more fun. I'm just gonna cut it by the trash can and then bring it back later. We'll stir fry a little bit, set aside, do some damage control. In goes a bunch of milk, half a cup of sugar. We're supposed to put in a tablespoon of condensed milk. I don't want to open a whole can just to put in a tablespoon. So we'll just bring it to a simmer to condense the milk a little bit. Cinnamon and cloves and the mixture from earlier to soften it up. I just realized we're supposed to do some dry fruits in this, and the recipe calls for dates. I actually have a box of dates in my cabinet. I totally forgot. But it's alright, we're just gonna do it without dates. That's how I did it for the first 19 years of my life. I'm not complaining. The concept of dessert soup needs to register in my head a little more. It tastes like a heated up cereal, so 4 out of 10. Hey, from Tunisia's family always make cardage balls. They also call it almond balls. Pretty self-explanatory. Pretty much just 3 ingredients that we gotta mix together. 200 grams of almond flour, 50 grams of powdered sugar, and half a cup of water. We'll mix it, roll it, dust it, taste it, and throw it away. Marcin from Poland is sharing with us gulasz zamaska. This dish is from before Poland joined the EU. Wow, I didn't even know Poland is part of the EU. I feel real stupid right now. A lot of you in our community are from there, so I'm always up to learn more Polish recipes. But I have to be honest, the only one I remember right now is the pierogis from the Polish chef. We made the potato ones last Christmas and topped it off with the sour cream and caviar action. Why are these meats splattering so much? I'm getting freckles here from thermal conductivity rather than radiation over here. So to the oil, we'll add in some garlic, onion. Marcin also asked us for 1 big carrot. The word big is up to my interpretation, so this one then. Anyways, we'll saute all the aromatics and meat together, season some parsley roots, frying up some flour directly into the pan as a roux to thicken it, and then some homemade high-end chicken stock. We'll give it a stir, let it simmer on low for 30 minutes or so. 2 tablespoons of flour definitely thicken it very well. I wish there's a little bit more color to this, but the flavor is the most important. That was a burning gloop of goo on my tongue, but it tastes way better than it looks. The parsley root adds so much freshness and herbaceousness to the soup. Usually I just toss them out, totally been sleeping on them. Unfortunately, I used beef instead of pork, so 30 minutes cooking time is not enough. The meat's a little tough. Without that being considered, this is definitely an 8.5 out of 10. Staying in the general Slavic region, marijuana from North Macedonia is teaching us a breakfast. Has a nice little picture over here as a reference. Any chance you could take a picture of the whole plate next time? It's very easy and familiar. You just beat some eggs, dip some toast, heat up some butter, and fry it till both sides are golden brown. This is pretty much an unflavored French toast. On top, we'll sprinkle some feta, make it savory. Pizza fold it, give it a taste, and rate it 1 through 10. Matter of fact, I actually like it better than French toast. I feel like I get sick from the egg mixed with syrup, and this one I can see myself having every single morning. I'll give it an 8.3, it's very low effort. Ending the Slavic round on a Russian soup called solenia. I know about this soup, it's made of pickle and is a myth among Russian children that if they don't behave, the cucumber from the soup is gonna crawl out at night and steal their dreams. This is an episode from Rick and Morty, by the way. Starting with sauteing some sausage and some smoked sausage. I'm replacing with ground beef, because in a way ground beef is just unseasoned beef sausage. Then we'll lightly brown some diced onion, tomato sauce, pickle slices, and some leftover steak. Recipe called for boiled beef, but I think this is better. Again, topping that off with some homemade premium chicken stock. We'll simmer it for 5 and then let it sit for 15 minutes. Pretty unsure about boiled pickles, but if it's a cucumber, I have to take it down. Let's go with the Slavic way of topping it with sour cream. Mix that up with the herbs a little bit. Let's slurp and slurp it up. Not as sour as I expected, pretty balanced in flavor too. I'm totally gonna finish this bowl and not have another. 7.8 out of 10. Juno, a Chinese student studying in the UK, suggesting us a honey toast. I think I've seen those on TikTok and it doesn't really look like what he described it here. I think he's referring to either a crispy caramelized dry toast like this or a soggy dipped more of a bread pudding like this. Either way, I don't have the bread for any of them, so I'll try my best to imitate them by laying down 2 pieces of white ass bread with the heat on. Slowly let it soak in some heavy cream. Make sure you get the bottom as well. We'll flip it and also do the other side. There's a lot of fat content in the cream, so it'll fry up the surface really well. Plus it's gonna make the inside more juicier like the bread pudding thing. This is when we start drizzling honey and let it caramelize on both sides. So in theory it should be a little bit crispy on the outside and the heavy cream makes it very jiggly on the inside. Tastes like a compromised French toast. But this does give me the idea that next time I'm having French toast, after I put on the maple syrup, I'm gonna put it back in the pan to fry it up a little bit. The slight caramelization on the surface makes it taste a lot better. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make a real honey toast. The honey toast I made today deserves a 4. Our next one is a little scary. To make sure that you guys know I'm not just making this stuff up, I'm gonna show you the original recipe. Oliver's Finnish grandma's famous onion milk. And the most concerning part of this recipe is that it's a straightforward recipe. Onions, garlic cloves, salt, and a little bit of sugar straight into the milk, and just let it be on the stove to come up to a simmer. And apparently in Finland, this was used as a medicine for cold. First of all, I didn't know Finnish people get cold. Second of all, I'm so glad modern chemistry have moved past that point. As you can tell from the surprised expression on my face, this tastes pretty good. It tastes like, don't call me crazy, a French onion soup, but a little better. Forget about hot cocoa on a cold day, bring me that onion garlic milk. 9 out of 10. Melita from Switzerland wants to rebel. Starting this recipe, she required 100 grams of ground hard corn. I didn't know what that was, but I'm assuming is yellow cornmeal. So 100 grams of that. This guy's giving me bad vibes, guys. It looks like he's saying, eat these corn and oatmeal while I feast on filet mignon, peasants. 150 grams of water, some salt. We'll put it in the container to store in the fridge overnight. The next day, we'll heat up a hot pan and a lot of butter. Just put that whole block of cornmeal into the pan, fry it until like the bits get brown and stuff. Melita's grandma usually have this for breakfast with a little bit of coffee, and that's how we're gonna enjoy it right now. I have a little bit of coffee left over from this morning. Let's give it a taste. It doesn't have a lot of taste, but it makes me feel like I'm one of those strong men in the past creating good time. The fried bits on there gets really crispy, so I feel like you either need a sausage gravy or some jam on it to make it sweet. Either way is a great foundation. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. This recipe already got me excited as the first step is for me to hold a banana. Kenneth from the Philippines is teaching us fried banana, but not just the tempura or straight up fried. It's banana slices well coated in brown sugar enclosed by spring roll wrapper. With a pot of oil heating to 350, we'll drop them in. In less than 5 minutes, they should be golden brown like this. We're just cooking the outside. After dusting with powdered sugar, and for some reason it's sticking to the paper towel. Paper towels are edible anyways. Gotta get some dietary fiber into my system. This ain't no ordinary dessert. It tastes like a cannoli, but like 10 times better. The banana is very cooked through, it becomes almost like a jam. A custard of some sort, perfectly accompanying the outer shell. The brown sugar coating caramelizes itself during the frying process, so you don't even need to make a separate caramel sauce to go with it. I'm giving this a 9.7, not only because it has sugar in it, guys, it's because it's actually really good. Maria from Spain is inspired by my videos because she's also a walking cooking disaster. Hey, I'm not a cook. You know what, I really am. She's from southern Spain, and there's a dish called Gacha Migga. On paper, it seems like a Spanish tortilla, but it's actually a potato pancake. Whenever I spend money on gold potatoes, they always turn green. We'll cut it into chunks and fry them at 350 until they're fork tender, or even better, Ligma fork tender. We'll take it out of the oil and straight into a frying pan. Now off camera, I also mix the batter of flour, water, and salt. Just keep adding water until the consistency look like an egg. Okay, either the potato pieces are too big or I don't have enough. The pan seems a little empty. Let's put my skill to the test and flip this pancake. Oil got on my arm. This side cooked a little unevenly. Sort of looks like the 3D map of a portion of the Yellowstone Park. Maria's family usually eats it with lamb chop. I don't have access to that right now, so I'm just gonna raw dog it. Because there's no eggs in it, I expected the dough to be like really dense and stuff, but it's surprisingly bouncy. I can totally see how it tastes great wrapped around a piece of lamb chop. I'm gonna give it an 8.7. Potato chunks need to be smaller and there should be more of them. George from Greece over here wants me to make a fried Greek pie called kaletsunia. Here's the recipe for the dough. I really don't feel like making another dough today, so I'm just gonna use a replacement. Some spring roll wrapper and feta cheese from 2 months ago. Does feta cheese ever go bad? It smells like ass, but I feel like it's brine, so it's preserved in a way. Let me know in the comments though. You know what I just learned? Spring roll can wrap both a banana and feta cheese. I think this is what George was trying to go for, but the crispy layer of the spring roll kind of makes it taste like an extra crispy spanakopita. It's got sugar, deep fried, and an almost expired product. So on this channel, this is automatic 9. Okay, Amelia from Uruguay, Paraguay, is sharing a 4-ingredient recipe involving a yuca root. I've never had yuca, I've only had taro, ube, and sweet potatoes. But I'm very fascinated by South American potatoes. I heard there are more than 900 species of them. I also heard that more than 60% of all the vegetables in the world originated in Peru. I did not expect yuca to be this hard to peel and even harder to cut. I realized the reason why it's so hard, there's literally a piece of wood inside it, which is why it's the perfect way to start your morning. We'll cut the yuca into small chunks, start with cold water, and just boil it for 20 minutes. When they're almost done, we'll heat up butter and start sauteing onions. After 20 minutes, they become pretty tender and start opening themselves up from the center. It's kind of gross looking, but it tastes pretty good. We'll dump everything into the onions, saute it a little bit, season it with salt and pepper, and now we'll beat 2 eggs and pour in. At this point, we can start improvising. Whether you want an omelet or scrambled eggs is all up to you. I have the heat on high. I'm just gonna stir it a little bit. I think I'm gonna do like a potato omelet type of thing. After flipping, I think I'm going for a potato scrambled eggs type of thing. My first time trying yuca in the format of a Paraguayan breakfast. Let's give it a taste and rate 1 through 10. It's pretty much just the juicier potato scrambled eggs. Instead of the typical starchy texture, it's a little more fibrous and tastes like a fruit kinda. I'm not complaining though, it's a nice change of pace. Sometimes I don't feel like eating potato in the morning. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. This next recipe is about to be diabolical from Yakar in Turkey. He calls it the chicken breast dessert. Oof boy, these two words don't really go together. I'm a little concerned, but since we're so impressed by the onion milk from earlier, I'm gonna refrain my judgment and give this a serious consideration. Basically, we gotta shred some chicken, wash it, and then turn it into a pudding. I'll show you what I mean. Here's my boiled chicken breast, which I constantly have in the fridge just for a quick protein fix. Don't worry about this coagulated white stuff on top. top. The other day I tried to open a bottle of ranch and it spilled over. The inside's a little pink, but we're cooking it later, so this is just another thing not to worry about. I'll shred it as thinly as possible and then fill it with water, soak for 24 hours. The next day we'll take the shredded breast out, squeeze, and then change the water. We'll repeat this step a couple times. Now we'll move on to the pudding mixture. We'll do 1 cup of sugar, half a cup of cornstarch, half a cup of rice flour, and a cup of water. Mix everything together with the ligma fork till combined. Moving to the stove, in a pot we'll pour in a whole liter of milk. When it's starting to boil, we'll mix in the starch mixture. And we'll continue to whisk it and scrape the bottom to get the coagulated pudding up to the surface. Eventually it's gonna look very thick like this. Now let me just emphasize that what I'm about to do is not my original idea. This is a recipe sent by one of you. I'm just following instructions. Plus, I've always said I'll try everything twice. We gotta keep an open mind. Anyways, we're adding all the chicken breast pieces into the pudding mixture and start heating it. Now we'll flavor it with some dessert MSG. It's starting to look like a biohazard, but when it comes to simmer again, we'll take it off the heat, put it in a container, into the fridge, and rest another night. I'm starting to suspect that all this waiting and effort won't be worth the final result, but let's wait and see. Alright everybody, the moment of truth here. It's like really creamy still. I was expecting it to be more set. Alright, I gotta dust it all over with cinnamon. Now it just kinda look like a tiramisu. And that's how I'm gonna approach it. It's just a extra protein anabolic tiramisu. Just gotta close my mouth and shove the meat in. Honestly, it's not bad at all. It tastes like rice pudding, but except for rice, you get chicken. I can't keep eating it because I can't get over the fact that I keep thinking about chicken breast. If you don't tell me what it is, I'll just assume it's rice pudding. Objectively, it's a 7. Conceptually, I have to give it a 2. Couple great Turkish recipes today. Our last recipe of the day is from Sarah in Canada. It's a French-Canadian pound cake, so we'll be expecting some maple syrup in here. Sarah said this is so easy that I cannot mess this recipe up, but clearly you haven't watched enough of my videos. Starting with the batter, 1½ cup of flour to 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 of a cup of room temperature butter, a cup of sugar, and a cup of milk. We'll slowly pour in the milk while we mix it to ensure the best texture. I wonder why we're using room temperature butter instead of melted butter, because there's a lot of chunks in it. Setting the bowl of batter aside, we're making the sauce, which is 1 cup of maple syrup, 1 cup of brown sugar. I'm gonna opt in for maple sugar to make it doubly Canadian. 1 cup of boiling water, 1/4 cup of butter, and 1/4 teaspoon of dessert MSG. We'll put it on the stove to let it boil for 2 minutes. Then it's just about putting the cake together. We're pouring the batter, and directly on top, we're pouring the hot syrup. It kind of looks like a natural disaster. I kind of have a bad feeling about this. $3.75 for 45 minutes. I could not be more wrong, because this, after 45 minutes of baking, turned out so well. I didn't know that baked maple syrup can smell really festive. I was worried that it's gonna get all soggy, but the top got crispy and the syrup accumulating at the bottom just makes it very moist. Taking out a centerpiece, we got a drizzle on top the sauce from the bottom. It got a lot thicker than before. This looks like an apple pie but smells like a bread pudding. Let's take a little piece, dip it in the sauce, give it a taste, and rate it 1 through 10. The roof of my mouth is erased from existence. I'm reminded that the sugar burn is the worst. But this is easily the most low effort and tastiest quote-unquote cake I've ever made in my life. I love the texture of the cake itself. The top is a little crispy like I said before, and the bottom is super moist, soaking in all that maple caramel. I think in the oven combined with the butter and the cake, it just turned itself into the richest caramel sauce you can find, simultaneously flavoring and moistening the cake. And I think my addition of the maple sugar makes it even better than the original. Sarah can come at me in the comments. 9 out of 10, what a great way to end the day. Anyways, thank you to all of you who sent in recipes. I pretty much read all of them, and I'm really grateful that I got to learn about your family and the story behind your favorite dishes. A lot of these recipes involve your grandma's. I don't get to see mine anymore, but her wisdom, her recipe is something that I can hold on to forever, you know? Food is how we connect with our family, our close ones, regardless of distance. And it's amazing how these dishes connected us with each other today. This week is the 2-year anniversary of this channel. I just want to say I'm really happy to have all of you. Alright, thank you.